Hoof and Fang podcast. I'm Kirt Graves.
And I'm Maz Maddox.
How are you doing?
Good.
Happy
November.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It's our first snow day.
It is, yeah. It's been kind of like, even though today has been really grueling day job wise, it has been kind of nice to where like when I hit the point of like I'm sick of everything I'm doing, I look outside and it's like beautiful and snowy, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of nice, and it's warm in here today.
And
so
that's the part that makes it worth it. When you can be inside and warm, but outside you see the beautiful snow falling, and it's not so egregious that you're like, crap, how am I going to drive?
Right.
Yeah, we're in a little bit of a snow globe today, or we were for a while. I think it's like
stopped. Drippy and wet now. There's like the snow's gone at this point, like because it's like just sloshy and gross. But earlier I was getting a little worried because I didn't bring any of my snow stuff with me today. I thought it was just gonna like flurry, so I was like, how am I gonna like get the snow off my windshield? So yeah,
you don't just keep that stuff in your car year round?
No, because I should. I don't. You know what? I think it's because I let the car. I nest in my car.
Okay.
So I'm one of those people that will just have a bonkers amount of shit in my back seat, just over months of just not taking it out. And so when I finally hit the point where I have to do a big clean, like I promised I'd drive somebody somewhere or something, I have to just remove everything. So everything gets taken out of the car.
So it always looks like you're moving to the people who are driving next to you on the street.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that person must be moving.
No. For some reason, I just keep forgetting I have jackets in my car and then being like, I don't need this, and just throwing it in the back seat. I have a problem.
Okay. All right. Well,
it's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Pro tip from a lifelong winterer.
Yeah.
Just keep the brush in your trunk.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
When you're done with it in spring, put it in the trunk, and then you never have to think about it. It'll be there when you need it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So. What about you? How's your day been?
My day's been fine. Yeah. Yeah.
You've been in the booth all day. I think I've seen you like maybe once.
Yeah.
So it's been a very busy day for you.
A bit of behind the scenes. We did so many interviews last week that like my week got severely chopped up.
Oh, that makes sense.
So this week I just need to get shit done.
Yeah, that's fair.
So this is the week of just being in the booth for long periods of time and just trying to get as much stuff done as possible. So
makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, we can announce our November audiobook since it's
Are we not even going to talk about what I'm wearing?
I thought we would like make people wait and be like, what's happening?
Do you think it'd be more fun to just let them be like, what's going on for 20 minutes?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a jerk though, but yeah, we could talk about the fact that when this airs, and it would be the week of your birthday.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost my birthday.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you. I'm almost one whole week early as of the recording of this episode, but you have to think ahead.
Yes.
So yes. What gave it away?
I just, I have a hunch, and I'm a good friend, and I remember everyone's birthday all the time.
All the time, yes.
I don't have reminders set in my calendar at all.
Oh, I do.
Oh yeah, no, I don't remember anyone's birthday.
And like Facebook used to be very helpful.
Yeah,
in
but
that regard.
It's super late now, or it doesn't give you any like information,
or you just don't go on Facebook ever.
I mean, I'm on Facebook constantly, and now like the notifications are behind, so I'll miss people's birthday completely, and I'll see like so and so's birthday was yesterday, and I'm like, that's not fucking helpful. Like, why are you telling me this now? So, but yeah. Happy birthday.
Thank you. I'm turning the big 39.
Ooh.
I know.
That's pretty fun.
One step closer to the big 40.
Are you going to try to do something special for your 40th?
I don't think I should have to do something special for my 40th. I think that should be somebody else's job.
Do you want something to be set up for your 40th? Like, do you want to try to do something?
If I make it that far, we may as well.
Right? Yeah.
We may as well celebrate that it happened. So... yeah, I think so. Although, I don't know. I also wonder if maybe I'll just I'll just stop aging at this point.
Yeah, that would be optimal.
I have to decide by Monday.
If this is like...
Is this it? Like, do I stop? Do we just cut it off at 38 and say, no, that was it?
Yeah, no more birthdays after this.
Yeah.
I don't know. Where I am right now, I don't think I'll ever get to that point because I like my birthdays and I'm okay with being like getting older. I'm fine with it. So, but like my mom... doesn't like talking about her age. Like she's old school lady like that, But I've got other friends who are in their 50s and they're like, yeah, I'm 55. That's how old I am. I don't care. And I was like, I like that attitude.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I do admire that attitude.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just deciding at this point, am I going to embrace that or not?
Yeah.
Because 40 really is a game changer.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm
fair.
right there. I'm looking at it. So,
yeah,
I don't know. So yes, happy birthday to me.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to send me presents, DM me and I'll give you my address.
Nice. We're shameless. We're always down for presents.
I'll take it.
Yeah, right.
I'll take stuff. Now, if you would like to continue with the actual programming.
Okay,
since I've interrupted.
No, you're fine. So we'll talk about our audiobook for November and then we'll come back to birthday stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, so our November audiobook is Eternal Sin by Mia Monroe, which is a vampire story. So I'm very excited. Like we're going from cool kick-ass werewolves to vampires. So I'm just loving the trend that we're on right now. Do you want to read the blurb because I'm horribly dyslexic and I'll mess it up?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So first of all, it's releasing November 24th, last Friday, which we will continue to do until we find a reason not to, and we can change our mind whenever we feel like it.
Because it's our podcast.
Yeah. Which you have pointed out helpfully is Black Friday.
Yes, it's Black Friday. So if everyone's in the shopping mood, you got an extra fun thing. You can either treat yourself or you can gift it to a friend.
Treat a friend.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll run a deal for Black Friday.
Ooh.
Something to think about.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, Eternal Sin. Sin is spelled S-Y-N.
Love that.
Is book 1 in the Immortal Assassins series. It is a contemporary setting MM romance featuring vampire assassins finding love with their fated mates. Book 1 contains a possessive vampire who didn't know he was capable of love, a sexual awakening, a wounded mortal just trying to survive. A lot of bad guys who get what they deserve, plenty of heat, which is a change from last month.
Yes.
We're mixing it up, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
And vampires being vampires.
Love it.
It's a hurt, comfort, morally gray, vicious vampire on the outside / marshmallow on the inside love fest you don't want to miss.
Love everything that's said about that.
Yes.
It's just all of that is my jam.
And you will learn a lot more about our November pick when we talk to Mia Monroe in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
So
that was a fun interview too.
Yes.
I adore Mia.
So yeah, it was a great conversation, which you will get to hear the week before the book comes out. We can hopefully whet your appetite for some vampire happenings.
Yes. Yeah. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. So, all right.
So
you want to talk more about birthdays?
I love birthdays. I'm one of those people that like when it's my birthday, I'm a jerk about it. Like I claim the entire month of May as my birthday month.
You barely said anything about it this year.
What, for my birthday this year?
At least in the office.
Oh.
You barely brought it up.
I can up that.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Next year. I can be obnoxious.
I would not have known from this year's happenings that
I guess
that you were big into birthdays.
I guess I toned it down. Alex will be jealous because I make his life miserable when it's like May. Like anything I want to do, it's like it's my birthday month. Like I play that card until the end of May, but in retaliation, he does the same for March. So
I only really remember talking about your birthday in the context of being a Gemini when we talked to Craig Montgomery.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, I don't think you brought it up.
Oh yeah, no, I love my birthday.
I mean, you fully were like, I'm not coming in that week. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, there you go.
Because you were like, I'm taking the week off for my birthday, and that was all that needed to be said. And I was like, great.
Yeah.
See you in 10 days.
That tracks.
Maybe that was it.
So do you have a favorite birthday from when you were a kid or now?
Okay. So it's hard to think about. First of all, I'm terrible at favorites. So anytime this comes up, just know that I'm so bad at picking a favorite because I'm always worried that the other birthdays will get jealous.
Okay. Fair.
I like to anthropomorphize objects and events and then also make them jealous.
Okay.
And sad. And I don't want to make them jealous and sad.
That's fair. Especially birthdays. Like, I get it.
Yeah. I don't have like a ton of memories of like childhood birthdays. I do, as we talked about last week, my mom's birthday is on October 31st, Halloween. So and my dad's birthday is actually October 14th. So I've always been like the third one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Like, another one?
Yeah, they're birthdayed out at that point.
Exactly. And so sometimes we would just kind of like smush them all into one.
Nice.
Like that Halloween celebration would just be for all of us.
Yeah.
But I do remember when I was in high school, this is the time of year when the high school musicals were typically running.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them in Wisconsin do them in the fall.
Okay.
So I was typically having my birthday during the run of our high school musical.
Okay.
And that was always a lot of fun because I was with my friends. I was doing something I loved to do.
Yeah.
Usually, I had to bring in like cupcakes or a cake, but then everybody would sing to me and it was like,
fun.
Yay, it's my special day.
Yeah.
Amidst all these people who I really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's cool. I like that a lot. That's really neat.
Yeah. And I shared my birthday with a strange number of people in high school.
Really?
Yeah. So like most of the time I wasn't even the only one up there with people singing happy birthday to me. Like my friend John and Jamie were usually right next to me because
we
all had the same birthday.
Yeah.
Jamie and I were in the same grade. So like we did the musical all 4 years together. And so it was usually the two of us, John before he graduated, like all getting sung to because we had the same birthday. So as a kid, I would say that was, I won't pick a specific year, but they were all good. How about you as your childhood birthday?
So my birthday being in May, it's during the summer and I grew up in Texas. So May in Texas is not terrible. It's before it gets like grueling
It's so funny
hot.
that you consider that summer because you grew up in Texas.
Right. It's not summer
here. I firmly
here.
consider May spring.
Yeah.
Early spring.
Yeah. In a real season, it's still cold. Like it'll snow sometimes. Like it's very much spring. But in Texas, it's basically pre-summer. Like spring's long gone.
You just described spring.
No, it doesn't have the same.
Spring is just pre-summer.
No, it's totally different though.
It's like fall is pre-winter.
But like
summer is pre-fall.
Listen, and like in Texas though, it's like spring. It's definitely like more wet and kind of cold. Like you'll still have those cold snaps. Like it's not going to snow, but it'll be
like cold in like the 60s.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be in the 60s and everything's kind of wet. Like it just rains.
When we start wearing shorts again.
Yeah. Here, when I'm still bundled up and I have like 14 layers on, and then my asshole neighbor's jogging in shorts.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But back then, like it was before it would get really, really, really hot. And my childhood home, we had a pool, like an above ground pool.
Oh.
Yeah.
You never told me you were rich.
We had a pool at least. But like I remember, I want to say like 6th grade or maybe 7th. It was when I had finally got at least a little decent amount of friends because I was not a kid who had a lot of friends growing up.
That tracks.
But yeah, I'm nerdy and I did not do well in the friend department. But like for one of these years, I had enough people to invite to where I actually had a birthday party and we had a pool party and it was so much fun because it was like summer and like we did like a whole tiki thing because that's easy to do. And there's like, you just buy a bunch of pineapples basically. And it was just warm and great and I just loved it. It was like I think I kept trying to recreate that growing up, like another like pool party kind of thing. So, but yeah, man, that was the best one. I think it's either the pool party or I think I went to Ripley's Believe It or Not one year, and that was really cool. But I don't super remember all of that one. I remember the pool party though.
Well,
awesome.
Yeah, you're probably not going to be doing a lot of pool parties in Wisconsin.
No, I mean during the summer it'd be really nice. But
right, if you wanted
you've got like 2 months.
If you wanted to delay your birthday for a couple months.
Right. Yeah. No. Well, and like as an adult, I don't like going to pools. I don't like water parks. I don't like it. So as a kid, I was all about it, but as an adult, hell no.
Right.
Like I don't like those. So I'll never be doing another pool party. But yeah, I think that was my favorite birthday as a kid.
What about as an adult?
So as an adult, I got lucky because the past 2 years, the Oddities Expo has been on like the weekend of my birthday or on my birthday. So we've been going to Milwaukee and doing that for the past 2 years. And it's just what we do for my birthday now, which is awesome. So we go, I get to buy something outrageous and stupid. And
for example,
last year I got a big painting of these two owls that have like 3 eyes. So they're like spooky and kind of cool looking.
3 each or 3 between them?
Each.
Okay.
So like they're weird,
so 6 eyes
supernatural.
Total.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got that last year. And then the year before that, I got some type of, I got a little cat skull because I wanted to make a little terrarium thing.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember you being very excited about that.
Yeah, it was cool.
And I had to be nice about it because it was your birthday.
I know it's
but
not
really,
your jam.
this is how I feel about a cat skull.
Yeah, it's neat. I made like a whole little thing out of it. It's really neato. But
it's not real, right?
Yeah,
no,
it's real.
No,
I mean, it doesn't have any. It's just a skull. It doesn't have any like skin on it or anything.
We will not. No, in my mind, it's fake. It was a fake.
It's I was just kidding. It's
replica. A 3D printed replica of a cat skull. Oh boy.
You gonna be all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm back.
Okay, good.
We're good. I cannot be the only person who had that reaction. Let us know in the comments.
Yeah. Is this super neat, or are you like, wow, Maz is fucking weird?
Yeah. Or both.
Or both.
You could think both.
Yeah, that's
Those
fair.
are not mutually exclusive opinions.
Yeah, neat. Also, hold on, I have to go throw up.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Do you do anything cool as an adult for your birthday now?
Mostly, no. I will say probably the last like adult birthday of any note. I mean, we'll go to dinner. I don't want to make it seem like we don't do anything.
Right.
But we did have for my 30th birthday, John threw me a surprise party.
Okay.
Now, in my world, the only acceptable surprise party is one that I know about in advance.
Okay.
And I know where it's going to be, and I know who is invited.
Nice.
The other details can be a surprise.
Sure.
But I need to know all of those things in
I
advance.
think that's totally reasonable.
So that was what we did for my 30th birthday.
Nice.
And John set up like a scavenger hunt.
Oh, that's cool.
Which was great, except that it was like the first day of like real ugly icy snow.
Boo.
So my friends were driving around town in like the first bit of bad driving weather we'd had all year, and it was like, take pictures of yourself next to these monuments.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, sorry.
Ooh, yeah. Don't get in a wreck.
Exactly. Nobody die for my birthday party.
Really put a downer on the mood.
That really, really would have. So I would say like 30 was like the last time I'd had something like big.
Okay.
Otherwise, we're just like go out to dinner with friends, people.
Yeah.
And we also, we adopted Bodhi.
Oh, yeah.
A few days after my birthday in 2020.
I remember that.
So
he was so
his
little.
gotcha day is sort of like even more important now.
Yeah, I feel you.
So, if we're going to celebrate, we'll celebrate getting Bodhi more than we'll celebrate me getting older.
Yeah, because puppies are always amazing.
So much more fun to celebrate.
Especially, like, do you ever do like actual puppy birthday stuff? Like, do you do like special treats or anything?
Yes. In fact, we are doing that today because it's Apollo's birthday.
Oh, I love it.
According to whoever decided that was his birthday at the adoption center.
Sure.
They just picked a day, I'm sure. But
yeah.
we are honoring it. He shares a birthday with my mom,
that's
ironically,
cool.
strangely enough. So John, in fact, just texted me before we started recording to be like, should I pick up something for Apollo's birthday? And I was like, sure.
Yeah,
do
it.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah, time to spoil him. And then in like 10 more days, we spoil Bodhi.
Yay!
And
that's
in between
the
there, I have a birthday.
Yeah. I think that's the correct priorities.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's
sweet.
All right. So this week we were talking to JS Harker. She was one of those kids who constantly had a book in her hands and spent countless hours adventuring with her siblings. These days, she wanders into her imaginary worlds and conjures up tales of magic, compassion, and happily ever afters. She currently lives in the part of the Midwest that makes Tatooine look interesting by comparison. I get that reference. Not that she's ever obsessively thought about becoming a Jedi or anything. If she has, she can talk to my husband about it. Here is our interview with JS Harker. Welcome to Hoof and Fang podcast, the author JS Harker. Hello, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing pretty cool because this is my first podcast, so I'm really excited to get to do this with you guys. So
yay!
Yay.
We always like it when it's like we're the first podcast.
A virgin.
Yeah, it's awesome.
yeah.
So I would love to just kick off the conversation finding out more about you. You're in this new batch of authors that we're talking to because we basically Googled you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We started with a bunch of people that we had either worked with or we already knew really well. And so now we're in the phase of like, who are you? Tell me your life story. which I know is not intimidating at all.
Tell us your deep, dark secrets.
Well, yeah, no, you guys reached out to me just before I was kind of considering reaching out to you guys because I saw a post on social media and I'm like, that sounds exactly like the kind of podcast that like would hopefully want to see my, hear me talk and read my books maybe. So I will consider reaching out to them. And then I got the email from you and I'm like, awesome.
It was meant to be.
Yeah, right? Yeah. It was like the algorithm knew.
Yeah.
Because it really was just like I was just going through Amazon and like clicking on the authors who we had already interviewed and then seeing what Amazon recommended to be like
that. I've been working on my Amazon lately, so I'm like, yes, it paid off.
It did, yeah, because it put you in front of me, and then I saw fantasy author, queer stories, go.
Yeah, like learning to navigate Amazon algorithms as I don't know, 9/10 of the battle when it comes to being an indie. Like I know that struggle so well. So when I click on my name and I see either authors I know or like somebody big, I'm like, somehow I'm nailing it. I can just like not do anything different and I'll be fine.
Yeah, I did one of those. Yeah. Well, I did one of those challenges and then it has been building since then over the last couple of months. So it's exciting. It's especially exciting since I have 6 books out right now, which is great. And I've discovered that part of being in this business is not getting the first book out, it's getting the 10th book out. So to keep going, because if you let yourself get disheartened by the sales, then you're never really gonna reach anybody if you don't keep trying, which is something I've been embracing, especially these last few months. Especially since GRL last year as well, is to keep trying to put myself out there. And I was sort of freaking out a little bit this year because I haven't been able to put a book out because of one reason and another. There's been a lot of life stuff going on. This book, I have heard other authors say that the second book in a series, especially if you're following the same couple, is the hardest book to write. And I always thought, no, that can't be true. You have the characters, you have your world, you have everything already. It should be... No, this second book is probably one of the hardest ones I've had to write because you have to nail everything that you were doing in the first book and get them to the point that the third book will make sense and be interesting. And it is... I usually write books that have been around... The longest one before this was Wrong Hunt, which is the first book, at around 90,000 words. And this one will probably be between 130 and 140,000 words when I get done. But it's that...
I just tried to whistle into a microphone. That didn't go well.
It's that genre of that cross genre between romance and urban fantasy where the readers are going to want to see all those sex scenes because it's one of the complaints from I'm an author who reads my reviews but I don't take them to heart. I'm like, what can I improve, and everyone's like, we wish we had more sex last book, and I'm like, okay, I got it. So there's, big emotional journeys, plus all the sexy times, plus all the evil villain stuff. So it's just a longer book. But it's been frustrating, but awesome to write.
I think we're living the same life right now because I'm also writing the second book in a urban fantasy MM romance with a vampire hunter and a vampire. So we're kindred spirits.
Yeah.
And I'm running into the same thing because this is the first time I've followed the same couple through a book. It's usually like a different couple per book. So it's new and exciting and you get to do the meet cute and stuff. But they've already done that. Like they've already had their meet cute. They've already done like that whole thing. So now you're trying to expand that out and like you said, make it interesting, give them stuff to do. You know what I mean? Like figure out ways for them to end up to bed together and stuff. So I know that struggle. It's really hard to find that balance.
I'm a fan, though, of following the same couple for more than one book.
Yeah.
Not even just as a narrator, which I do enjoy because I like revisiting characters, but as a reader, like I love it when it happens. So I am excited for both continuing relationships into a second book.
Yeah, I enjoy reading both, especially it's always, comes down to, is it a premise I really like? Is it an author I really like? And I usually follow that as well. But long series, I've always wanted to write like a long urban fantasy series and have that kind of like, you get to book 7 and to try to explain book 7, it's entirely crazy. But if you've been through it there for like books 1 through 6, then it all makes sense and it's all cool and crazy in the good way. So I just want that long, beautiful series with the same characters. And these were the first 2 that really showed up and said, one of them is kind of coming of age, and so he's got all of that drama of going against the family, of trying to figure out where he is as a vampire hunter, what it means to be a vampire hunter in a world where things aren't black and white. And then you have a vampire who is over 300 years old and has been like suppressing his trauma for over 300 years. I'm like, he has a fleet of baggage just waiting to be explored, and it's really fun to dive into that. And then, of course, there's everybody they know and they meet, so that just adds on to the plot and the story and stuff, which is just so much fun to do.
Yeah, the premise of Wrong Hunt sounds really interesting.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's like immediately, one, of course, I'm like in my vampire era right now, so I already was like, hell yeah. But then when I like looked at the synopsis, one of the questions I have for you is, was there a specific reason why you have Roger go to sleep in 1989? Like, does this date mean something to you, or was that just...
I wanted it 1989, since I was born in 86, so I'm like much more of like a 90s kid, and like, I vaguely remember the 90s as well, because childhood and depression will make memories a little funky. But 1989, it feels like a tipping point of an eras between, you have the Cold War kind of changing gears, maybe not entirely stopping because things are still odd with stuff in the 90s between Russia and America and even now. But you have the Cold War ending, you have just sitting here and thinking about when Roger would have gone to sleep and then waking up now, there's just so much difference between the time frames. And yet, for some readers, it's either something they vaguely remember or something that they may remember much more clearly. And then there's all of these things that happened on the in-between, like Zach mentions that his favorite movie is Twilight, which was a huge thing. But Roger, vampires would have known about it kind of thing. But Roger's like, what is this thing? So it's just all of these little cultural touchstones that even now start to sound old and dated because, we've all known about Twilight for a decade. But Roger has no clue what it is. It's just an interesting juxtaposition. And for me, I sort of feel like I'm between generations sometimes, because I had a bunch of older friends in college, so they were a little more Gen X, but I have younger siblings, and so I feel more like millennial with a lot of stuff. And then my level of tech is not as high as other millennials sometimes, so it's just also kind of an expression of that, where to have this age gap in between, and have that break in Roger's memory and relation to the world. And I just like this idea of the vampire going to sleep and then eventually coming back to the world, but maybe not having it be of his own accord, and that being a mystery to unravel as the series goes on. I can apparently ramble forever.
That's so good. Podcasts love that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yay! Yeah, no, I mean, to me, it sounds fascinating. Yeah. So, like, great. Another book I have to read.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was about to say, and adding that to my cart. Also, we are the same age. So I guess maybe we're separated at birth or something. You said 1986. And I was like, okay, yeah, we're like somehow weird siblings that got moved apart or something. But yeah.
Okay, where were you each born?
I mean, I was in Tennessee.
I was in Washington. I was in the Seattle area. So
okay. Well, right. One of our parents.
So
is lying,
it's unlikely that you were separated at birth.
Unlikely.
I don't want to go back too far, but I am interested, like, what got you started in fiction writing? Was it always a goal for you, or is it something that came about later in life?
It's been a goal since I was about 13 and realized that if I wanted to be a marine biologist, I was probably going to have to get like in the water and the ocean all the time. And it was kind of salty. I was on
a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
It's just a little salty, a little wet. But I was on a school trip. Essentially, it was there was a student ambassador program called People to People, where they would basically like take a group of teenagers and go overseas. And my mother only allowed me to pack one book, which was Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice.
Oh.
Yeah,
which
she died.
We're the same person.
I'm like reading it like the age of like it was like between 7th and 8th grade. So I'm like 12 or 13 at the most. And I'm reading Interview with the Vampire. But there was a lot of time. We were traveling to a lot of cities. So there was a lot of time on the bus. So inside of a week, I'd read through the book. And there was someone else on the trip who was like, hey, if you're bored, there's this notebook paper in the back of our like program guide. Why don't you just write your own story? And I mean, throughout my childhood, I'd spent a lot of times like playing pretend with my brother and my sister. And it just was a natural extension of that. Like, oh, I can be an adult and, you know, I can get like grow up and do this. This would be cool. So yeah, I went to college and got a BA in English and another one in anthropology. And just, I kind of continued trying to write stuff on my own. I eventually did, a few years ago, I think it's technically 5. I got my first book published, with a publisher, which unfortunately didn't work out, but I've also learned that part of the romance thing is everyone's got at least one publisher in their background that wasn't paying them and it didn't work out. And it's just kind of like, I was sitting there at Coastal Magic. I'd gone to the conference, and this is 2020, so just before the world shuts down. And I'm sitting there with 7 other writers, including Zio Axelrod was there and Carrie Ann Ryan. And just, I wasn't even the only one at that table at the time going through problems with a press. Somebody else was going through problems with a press. And just everyone at the table who'd been in the business for longer and for a few more years than I had, all of them were like, oh, that kind of drama. I've been there. I've done that. We've been like, so just to be like, oh, okay, I finally have my last merit badge just so I can really feel professional here.
Right.
That's so unfortunate.
Yeah, it really is.
And I mean, I so want to be on the side of like small independent publishers, but they do tend to go through rough patches.
Yeah, that's putting it nicely.
It's again, I don't ever want to discourage like a small independent publisher. I think that's a good thing. But when you've heard as many horror stories as we have, then it's also like, ooh, but please do a really good job and don't try to grow too fast, because that usually seems to be where the problems come in.
Exactly.
Yeah. There were, I mean, every business always, like, even just any workplace in general has its dramas, but then you add on the fact that technically everybody can see everything, and you have a lot of stuff going on, and then some bad stuff going on too. And it's like, this is just ugh.
Just ugh. Yeah.
Just ugh is
we'll
the best
say
way
no
to
more on
describe
that front.
You mentioned that you got your BA in anthropology. Did you do a specific branch of anthropology? Because I also went to school for anthropology. So
what?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Jeez, Louise.
I know. This, I'm like, every new thing you say, and I'm like, okay, I just reaffirms what I've already said.
My English degree was great at teaching me, like, you know, some of the structures, like the classics. We didn't, like, I had a few classes, and I, like, sitting here now, over a decade later, realizing that at least one of my novel classes was actually rather progressive for the time, because we read like books from all over the world. We read a couple of authors that were definitely queer, and to have that as part of like what I was learning about novels at the time was great in the like perspective long run, because that was the mid-thousands, so people weren't really as like English departments weren't jumping on that as hard as they should sometimes, and so it was I'm sitting here going like, oh man, I wish I had like 3 more classes with that professor. So I got interested in anthropology because I had several friends who were getting a degree in it, and I didn't know what to do after college yet, because like become an author is so vague a thing, especially since this was just before KDP really became a thing. This is like right. 2008. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like, just apply to presses until they say yes? Because that sounds like hell. So I got interested in really a lot of the way the language works with people. So my degree wasn't really more tailored specifically. It was a little more general, but like where I had my election courses, I took one in like sex and gender, and I took a couple more in like linguistics, because that was the stuff that was like super cool for me. And although I can't remember specifics now, I know there's like certain parts back there in the training of my brain, and that helps with the structure of sentences and whatnot, and just understanding language in general, which is fun.
Nice. Yeah, I think the linguistic classes in anthropology were some of the best. Like, there's just language itself is interesting, but yeah, I would imagine that would help a lot paired with an English degree is awesome. But yeah, I had to pick your brain because I was like, anthropology, you say, like, and I'm like doing everything in my power not to talk to you about video games and D&D because that's also in your profile. But I've already put Kirt through hell this week.
We've already done that once.
Yeah, so I'm like, maybe afterwards we can talk, but yeah.
If it's relevant to your storytelling journey, like is playing D&D part of like what turned you into an author?
It very much did help with that. And it was part of that. It was a big part of my college experience. And we played a setting known as Ravenloft, and we were playing 2nd edition, despite the fact that at the time 3 and 3.5 were popular. My dungeon master, and I found out later on down the road that it was more along the lines of like a very homebrewed 2nd edition. So it was like the kind of hardcore rules that sometimes we had to make sure we had enough water kind of rules.
Oh my God.
Which when you're playing D&D can be a lot. But there was a lot of storytelling, and Ravenloft is a setting that is very steeped in gothic horror and like monster movie stuff of like the 30s and 40s kind of stuff, which was very much my vibe at the time and still is. So you have like all those fantasy aspects as well as like curses and vampires and dark lords. And so you have to work on a lot of improv with Dungeons and Dragons or any tabletop role playing. There's a lot of improv involved. There's a lot of you can read all you want ahead of time, and the cool part of it is when it like the snippets come out. So you do your research and you only actually see like a 10th, like as a dungeon master, about a 10th of what I've prepared will be what shows up in the game.
Really?
And that's if the players actually go the direction I expect them to. One reason you need to prepare so much is that the players may go an entirely other direction. And that's cool. That's great.
No, it's not. Tell them no.
No, because
this is what you're not allowed to do.
I would say I wouldn't be allowed to be a DM because I'd be too bossy. Like, no.
No, you can't go in that
shop. That was the wrong answer.
Everyone's dead inside. Do something else.
Mm-hmm.
But I've started dungeon mastering again lately because it also helps me work on my villains, which I feel is one of my weak points, where it's like my antagonists need to be full-fleshed, going after goals, getting in people's way. I use a published setting, so I'm not making up the whole setting, but I've also watched so many hours of the setting that I'm very familiar with it, and so I can make things up on the fly. And some of the things that we've made up on the fly have shown up in the live stream at this point. Not that like we had any impact of them, but that we had predicted things that could evolve in this world that they eventually
added to the world on their own. Like, it was just kind of cool to see those mirrors start to happen as well. That it's like, yes, we made something so cool that fits, that continues to build out this narrative world that we love, which is always fun. And it's kind of the same kind of like world I want to build, especially with my Fang and Dagger series, is that it's starting with Zach and Roger, and it's just, I have like 12 other stories that are already like vying for competition between things, so that they also get their stories that just further expand Fang and Dagger. Because I'm actually also in awe of like the tapestry of stories we get from Marvel Universe, and I'm like, I want that too. I want to make one of those. I don't have like that much money to throw at a thing, so I can't have like 20 people working on it with me. But I want something like that, you know, like where you feel like you can step in and anything's possible. Maybe a lot of dangerous things that'll happen first before the fun stuff. But, you know, that there's a world to be explored.
I'm sensing some sort of like queer romance author D&D podcast situation.
So far, I think out of the past like 3 or 4 people we've interviewed in the past like 2 weeks, like half of them at least have been D&D people. So yeah, it's brewing.
Something's in the air. There's something going on with you guys.
Maz finally DMs and we live stream it or something.
Oh my God, that would be
podcast
fun, actually. Do like a Critical Role thing, but not as well done because we're not voice actors.
I have watched so much Crit Role and so much Dimension 20.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that might be in the future kind of thing. Just putting it out there in the universe. That might be fun.
You know, you never know what might happen. The best ideas happen organically or by accident. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
That's a moment where you get the readers to be like, no, we want it. Do the thing.
Yeah, right.
Right. I'm curious, just because you've told me what your job is, and I'll leave it to you if you want to say what your job is. And then you're a fiction author. How do you do both? Or does doing both help you accomplish both?
I think it's just kind of part of how I see the world. I don't really... They merge and evolve and twist into each other a lot. I was one of those kids that I was sitting in one of my English classes, and the professor came in and he's like, some of you are in this class because you don't want to do communications, but you suck at science. And some of you are here because you're going to be teachers. And then some very few of you are in this class because you love the craft of story that much. And he looked at me, and for a second, I was pretty sure he was looking at anyone else in the room or like someone behind me. I even did that like epic, like check over my shoulder. And he's like, no, I mean you. And I'm like, oh. I've barely spoken and you figured that out. Okay.
That's a good teacher.
Yeah.
When they can see you like that.
Yeah.
And help you maybe even learn that about yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a big one. Because it was probably very validating, too, to have somebody else like be like, no, you write stories. You're like, moi.
Yeah, out of the... I've always expected a little bit more resistance when it comes to like, you know, a little bit more critical analysis when it comes to my story craft, but I've been blessed to have a lot of people be like, no, where's the next chapter? Or no, I want to see more. Or even having my editor be like, okay, this story is good and you could probably publish it this way, but could you go for the throat better? Could you just dig in deeper? Mm-hmm. I know you have that. And I'm like, okay, we'll dig. We'll see what's here. So it's, I've been lucky to have a lot of support in that regard. And you know, that push to, I have more people looking at me going, you're going to, you know, this is your career and get the next book out and get, you know, keep going and people will eventually see it kind of thing, than having detractors being like, why are you here? And stuff like that. And usually if somebody does crop up, that's like a little more like, because someone asked me once, like, what's your big goal? And I'm like, I want my books on the shelf next to Jim Butcher. And at this point, that's
what I've been telling this one.
Yeah. I'm like, at this point, that technically wouldn't happen because Harker is nowhere near Butcher. And so, you know, alphabetically, we just won't be next to each other. But this
on the shelves that get curated.
But so to have a person who sat there and went, okay, you'll never get that. Instantly, my brain kicked back a F you. Yes, I will.
Yeah.
And I think with the creative spirit, that's one of the things that you have to find within yourself in order to really go, is that you have to be able to handle that, you know, if there is a rejection, if there is even a passing remark that might make you doubt yourself, or your own internal brain going, I can't do this, that you have to be able to stand up and be like, no, I will. Okay, I'm just going to sit down and do it.
But it's hard.
It is hard.
It is hard.
But, yeah,
so are so many other things. Though. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it depends on the thing that you're talking about. I just, in these conversations, I think about writing a book and like, God, that seems like a really tall mountain to have to climb.
It's just one little step at a time.
I know.
Like,
well, but and then we're approaching NaNoWriMo, where like I've tried to do that before, never succeeded. Didn't last a week, not even once.
It's hard. That one's tough.
But it just seems like such a monumental task.
Well, I think trying to write a novel in a month is rough.
Yeah. I've completed Nano like once. My very first Nano I managed to complete, and that was important for me because that was the first time I actually like finished a book, and that was an important like part because I'd finished some stuff when I was like in high school, but that was the first one I finished as an adult, and that was important for me because it let me know that I could do it, and I could keep finishing books and keep going forward. But no, for me, my thing is like, it's too hard not to write. It's so ingrained in me at this point, especially like I've essentially been writing for over 20 years now. It's just only been professionally published for like 5. So it's instinct. It's reflex. I get bored. I start telling a story. I have a hard time reading books or watching movies because I'm like, but the story could be this much better if you were this way or that way, or which can make it a little hard sometimes. But there's also been some better media lately that's been a lot easier to watch.
Yeah, we've had conversations about that too. Like, well, because we both also like just love good stories and story structure, we'll get to the point where we'll be watching something and we're like, I mean, I see the beats, but I mean, why didn't you do it this way? Like, I think it's hard to turn that part of your brain off.
Yeah, especially once it becomes a part of your job.
Mm-hmm. Like, it's like your life.
Yeah. Like, I have trouble reading a book now and just reading the book because, like, I assess it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm picking it apart for, like, how one would narrate the book. And it's like, bitch, you're not hired to narrate this book. Just sit down and read the book. Just enjoy it. So, and I also, it's the same reason like I struggle sometimes to listen to audiobooks because
I bet that
you're constantly thinking about what you would do differently. But at the same time, and I think this is part of what you were saying, in acting, the advice is often given that if you can do anything else, do it.
Yeah.
But if you can't, keep going.
There was a convention I was at for Doctor Who, and there was an actor who was speaking. It was actually one of the American actors, so nobody on the British side, before anybody actually tries to hunt down who might have said it, because it was years ago. Okay. And one of the traditional questions that that people ask at conventions all the time is, well, how do you do what you do? And, or how do you break into the business? Or what would you say to an aspiring actor? And his response was, don't. And my instant gut reaction was like, F you, just that touchstone of, no, this is too much of a calling to not try to do. I mean, for me, not acting, but writing, but like.
Right. But I think that calling has to be there. Mm-hmm. And that may have been an inelegant way of him saying that if you can be discouraged, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. If you can't be discouraged, then it is your calling and it is what you should be doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, also on a practical side, like less competition if you just don't. So
yeah, maybe that's what he was trying to do. He was trying to weed out the competition.
Maybe I'm trying to ascribe some sort of like higher meaning to it, and he was just like, I don't want the competition. So,
yeah, I think it may have been a little more along the lines of like, this may look glamorous on the outside, but on the inside, it is an uphill struggle. So much more often than what it may seem like, because the cool thing is for the readers, and this is what I want them to see, is the finished product. They get to see the cool ass book. They get to see the cover that I put work into, that I hire for. Mine are done by Restante right now. So, the cover that I've arranged to have, that since I'm indie, I get to have that big push, where when I was with a publisher, not so much. And they get to see the cool words that, like, hopefully as few typos as possible, but every once in a while they sneak in. They don't see me having to turn out all the lights because the vampires don't want me to have the lights on when I try to write the dramatic scene. And I'm like, guys, it's...
You are such a goth kid.
Yeah, sometimes the vampires in my head, they like, sometimes it happens with other first drafts, but these vamps are like...
The vampires in my head say it's too bright.
They want the darkness. No, that's another thing for me, is that these characters practically live in my head, that they almost have their own emotional responses, especially if I'm like knee deep in their book. And it gets a bit taxing, is the easy way to put it, is that you have all of this creative energy going through, and I make the joke quite frequently, especially if like people are like, what are we having for dinner? I'm like, I don't know. I'm in like 3 realities right now, and only one of them is related to you. Like,
I'm gonna use that next time. My husband's like, what are we having for dinner? I'm like, listen, I'm in between worlds right now, so you're gonna order a pizza.
Yeah.
We're getting so many good quotes for t-shirts.
I know, right? I like everything that's been said so far.
Excellent.
We're going to have to open a store because we're getting good quotes. So we know that coming up next for you is the next book in the Fang and Dagger series. But what comes after that? What's on the horizon for JS Harker?
Yeah. So the plan is next year that I will get at least 2, if not, like, I always hope for more than 1 book, but it's been a while since I've been able to manage that. But I've got a lot more hopefully building up. So I'm going to get Vicious Waltz, which is book 2, out hopefully in January. Like, I wanted it out this year, but I also want to do justice to the story. I actually have a book 3, which is still a little untitled, because I'm rotating between different ideas until one settles in. I have the draft for that already through the develop stage. So it's been to the developmental editor and back, so that I should be able to get that one out hopefully by the summer is the goal. Preferably earlier than that, because book 2 ends on a cliffhanger and book 3 starts us back off there.
Mine also ends on a cliffhanger. I swear to God.
The parallels are freaking me out at this point.
Like, this is crazy. I love it.
And this is like the first time we've really had a chance to chat, because we may have been we've probably been at some events before together, but these, they have so many people.
So we totally have.
Yeah.
Like, because I went back, like it was like, we're already Facebook friends. So I was like, I had to have run into her at some point. So like, we've been at the same GRL. Yeah. I went to a different coastal, but I've also been to coastal, but I'm sure we've like been in the same space more than once. It's crazy.
Maybe you're too similar. Maybe it's like magnets. You repel. Like if you try to go in the same room, one of you is just like physically like bounces off.
Well, I mean, the great thing is GRL has so many people usually that there's just too many people you see, and get introduced to a lot of people. And up until the last couple of years, I was a little bit more on the quiet side. I realized I had generalized anxiety disorder, which makes it very hard to socialize until you get treatment. And so now I'm a few years in treatment and I'm like, who was that person? I have no idea. Like she's still in here somewhere, but she's different than I am now. And
quieter.
She's sitting with the vampires.
Quieter.
The anxious part's quieter. I know that girl.
Yeah, the anxious.
That one I know. Because, my first GRL, I mean, I had to literally put a drink down because I was shaking so hard. I was like, I'm going to spill wine on myself. Like,
that's rough.
Well, it's anxiety. It pops up in stressful situations and it makes you want to crawl into a hole.
Yeah.
But I was supposed to be up on stage for parts of that. So it was like, well, I can't crawl into a hole. So I guess we force ourselves into the other direction. Mm-hmm. But yeah, GRL is a series of me like being very outspoken and in front of people and gregarious and personable. And then it has to mix with like alone time.
Yeah.
Like turtle in a shell, leave me be.
I've realized I do better at conventions if I'm just kind of, have time to do my own thing where I can recharge that social battery before I go expend it all again. So I don't always make it to all the parties or all the dances and whatnot. I have trouble sitting through some other people's panels sometimes because I'm like, but I have 50 ideas on storytelling and they're very different than yours, which is fine. That's great. But at the same point, I'm like, okay, but I don't get to talk and I don't know anybody here. So I'm going to go recharge my battery before it runs out again.
Mm-hmm.
We, for a while, were developing a sort of conference, and who knows, maybe it will be the Hoof and Fang conference someday. But it is basically like, think GRL, but without the parties. And just a lot more time to like be in community with people.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the evening event is everybody can come sit and read.
Yes.
Yeah. Like
exactly.
Just be among friends and be a book nerd.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the thing.
And the other important thing was that the bar would be open for the signings.
Yeah. To help
because
break the
for
ice.
some people, it's helpful to have had a drink and then you're willing to like.
Just ask or just be a little bit more social. I get that way.
Right. So nobody steal those ideas. Maybe I'll just cut this part.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is definitely still a goal is to find that conference where like, they're not into like the loud music dance parties at the end of the day. Because that part, I'm the same. I'm like, I'd rather just like go to dinner with a few friends and
more low key.
And also I have found that if you have a hotel in the space, like it can be worth it.
Yeah,
to be able to just sneak away.
Yeah.
Well, I won't take up any more of your time. We so appreciate you coming and joining us
this was fun.
Chatting.
Mm-hmm.
If we continue with the podcast, which we sincerely hope we do, we hope you'll come back in the future.
Yeah.
Maybe come back around the time that Vicious Waltz is coming out, which by the way is a fantastic title.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Thank you. I'm like having to make sure that I get more of the waltz in because I'm like, I made a big deal about ballroom dancing and you guys have got to hit the floor and it's got to mean something when you do.
Sadly, it does, especially when the title's so cool.
Yeah, agreed. It was such a blast chatting with JS about how me and her are basically the same person. Mm-hmm. Like long lost, separated at birth.
Twinning.
Like, every time she kept going, she'd say something else. I was like, oh my God, like, did you just steal my bio? How did you do this? And of course,
yet we saw her on the screen as a separate human being.
Yeah, I know.
So that was wild how you did that.
Yeah, it took a long time, a lot of video editing. Yeah. So. Oh man!
Oh, you're that good at video editing?
Yeah.
Oh my God, great! You can take over.
Yeah, I was supposed to say, don't call me on that though, because I can't replicate it. It was a one-time thing.
One-time thing. So yeah, the first book in her Fang and Dagger series, Wrong Hunt, is available now. The second book in the series, Vicious Waltz, will be available for pre-order soon, so go check her out. And if you want to follow or connect with JS, you can find all of the social media info in the show notes for this episode. And as always, you can do the same with us. All of our social media, both as Kirt and Maz, as well as Hoof and Fang, are there for you. Our October audiobook is still available to new subscribers who join us at the Dear Listener level. You have 10 days from the release of that audiobook to join and get the most recent one. So if you want to listen to Prisoner, we've had a couple of reviews come through the socials. People are enjoying it.
Yeah.
So yeah, go grab the book from our online store or sign up at the Dear Listener level before November 7th, and you will get it as a perk of membership.
Yeah, good stuff.
And if you're listening to it, let us know what you think. As always, we are looking for feedback.
Yes,
We'd
always.
love to hear from you. So, all right, that's all for this week. We will talk to you guys next week.
Yeah, we'll see you then.
Bye.